I hadn't heard a foul word spoken about the Earthlings until their animals got out. It was with shock that I stopped outside my office to listen to the gossiping coworkers who hadn't noticed me yet. My lower arms were full of important paperwork, and my top arms held rapidly cooling drinks for two superiors, but I stopped like someone had just announced that we'd be reprogramming the entire building in trinary code. "The humans are dangerously incompetent," said the tall gentleman with his back to me. His voice dripped with disdain. "If they can lose track of this many of their own animals at once, then we want no part in further trade. I'm embarrassed to work in an office even remotely associated with them." "Have they put out a statement yet?" asked a woman who I couldn't see over the man's broad shell. "Any attempt at explaining it?" "Not that I've heard, and I wouldn't expect a very good excuse. These were their creatures, their responsibility. There's been no natural disaster to break the cages or blackout to release the locks. Nothing of the sort. I can't think of a single thing that would leave them blameless. Could anyone else have gotten a hold of that many Earth animals?" "Hardly. No one could—" I broke in. "Smugglers." When they turned to look at me, my dawning horror kept me talking. "It wasn't enough for the criminals to sell addictive food that kills people." I clacked my beak skyward in respect for the dead. "But now they're bringing us animals from off-world and losing them." The two co-workers didn't have much to say to that, but this kind of evil had clearly not touched their own lives. They wouldn't understand. "Can you please bring these to the front office?" I asked, thrusting the drinks forward. "Where did you hear about the animals? Is it on the news? I'll put these away myself." I babbled, juggling mugs and paperwork. My co-workers seemed taken aback enough to accept my urgency at face value. The man took the drinks, and the woman directed me to the live news update that would have more information. I thanked them both. Then I ducked back into my office, threw the papers in the general direction of the desk, and slammed the door behind me as I ran for the media room. Some people got out of my way, while others had to be dodged around. I fancied myself agile and quick, able to move at close to human speeds when pressed. The fact that that comparison might not be a favorable one for long just added to my haste. Every human I've met has been nothing but honorable, I thought as I ran. They do not deserve to get burnt by someone else's fire, especially those abominable lowlifes. Heads turned when I skidded into the media room, but when I ran to a terminal instead of announcing some new development, everyone went back to work. I tapped the controls with impatience. While the live feed loaded, my thoughts skipped to the touchscreen that one human acquaintance had shown me, which hadn't been adapted for rockback hands yet. I wondered now if it ever would. The feed popped up, looking much like the co-worker had described it. A flying eye's view over a public garden with an inset recording of the action from earlier in the day. The place was calm right now, but it had been exploding with fast animals not long ago. I'd never seen creatures like that before. Definitely from Earth. I stood there, listening to the account of the events, and completely ignoring the chair at my side until a clock chimed with the end of shift tone. Startled, I looked up to confirm the time, thinking wildly about the many things that I had planned to finish today. The documents on my desk, or near it, would have to wait. This couldn't stand. I had sought out every bit of information that was publicly available, and I needed more. Also, a plan of action. But I was sure to come up with that soon enough. First, I had to talk to someone who knew more than I did. Already planning madly, I shut off the terminal and raced back to gather my things. I might just be conveniently sick tomorrow, I thought, as I ducked under the widespread arms of someone gesturing while they talked. Better practice my cough. Or not. At this point, I don't care if they believe me. Leaving a trail of confused co-workers, I rushed out of the building and down the road to Silverite's. I had eaten there numerous times, both before and after they became the much-lauded first restaurant to serve human food. I'd even tried some of the new cuisine, though I honestly didn't think much of it. Not that I would ever say so anywhere the owner could hear, because that was who I was there to see. She had no reason to talk to me, lowly nobody that I was, but I hoped that curiosity on her part would do, and insistence on mine. I was on a mission. Once inside the high-ceilinged building with black and gold decor, I found an eager crowd waiting to eat. Somehow I hadn't expected that. I chafed, waiting in line for a two-seat table. Normally I would spend the time admiring the weekly rotation of art on the walls, painted by tertia luminescent Silverite herself. But today I was far too preoccupied. I looked at nothing and overgroomed my cuticles with my beak. When the waitress finally showed me to a table, I asked to see Lumi in my most polite tones. I made sure to use her common name and didn't elaborate. I stressed that it was important. The waitress said she'd check whether Lumi was available. I curled my toe claws under the table and hoped. Nothing to do but wait. Sip the complimentary water, nibble the seasoned beetle wings, taste the air. Look at the other guests, some of whom were trying alien food for the first time. No humans were here at the moment. That was hardly a surprise, though. Only a few of them lived nearby, and they had other places to eat now. I looked up when someone approached the table. It wasn't the waitress. This middle-aged woman with the gold and teal shell paint of an artist and the confidence of a god could only be Lumi. I sat up straight and spread all four arms in subservience. I had seen her before, but never up close, with the focus of her attention solely on me. She nodded and settled into the second chair, folding two hands on the table. "What is your important matter?" she asked. "Smugglers," I said, immediately bungling the encounter. I hadn't even introduced myself. Nothing to do but press on now. "Everyone's blaming the humans for losing those earth animals, but I know it was smugglers, not them." Lumi looked amused. "You know that, do you?" I restrained myself from gesturing wildly. "Who else could it be? Law-abiding citizens have no way to acquire animals from Earth, and the humans claim they didn't come through official channels. These aren't even the right type of animal to bring here." "Have you asked a human directly?" "Well, no," I had to admit. "I haven't had a chance. But all my experience with them says they are honorable, not the sorts to bring animals here in secret." "All your experience, you say?" "I work in accounting at the embassy," I explained hastily. "Part of my department oversees paychecks and such. Sometimes I get to talk to them in person. They're always very nice." "I would expect no less," Lumi said. She folded her other hands around the first. "So, what do you want of me?" I waved my hands broadly. "Fix this. I know you have connections." "Ah," Lumi said, leaning back in the chair. "Do you now?" "Don't give me that look. Everyone knows that." I took a deep breath. "I apologize. This is important to me." "Why?" I took in her focused expression before speaking. "My cousin died from an illegal substance," I said. "The smuggling trade is to blame. His loss wrecked my family like many others. And now the smugglers are branching out to animals that don't belong on this planet, which are already causing untold damage and might disrupt the alliance with the first alien civilization we have ever encountered." I bit the air fiercely. "I would peel the shells of those responsible if I could." "I see," Lumi said, picking out a beetle wing. "And is there something specific you expect me to do, or are you just here to yell at the only person you can think of?" I deflated at that. Do you know how to find the people who lost the animals? There's probably a bounty." She waved a hand while she crunched down on the wing. "Don't strain yourself. Tell you what, you do me a favor first, and I'll see if I can point you towards someone whose shell deserves peeling." My heart leapt. "The ones who lost the animals?" "I'm not promising anything," Lumi said, "but I'll see what I can do." "Thank you," I gushed. "What favor do you want?" She leaned in conspiratorially, as if we hadn't already been discussing topics that might conceivably get me in trouble. I probably should have been quieter. When I leaned in too, she said, "I'm looking for someone with knowledge of off-world tech. Can you think of anyone like that?" "Well, the humans," I blurted. "Can you bring one here for a nice meal and a chat?" she asked, smiling widely. "No charge." "Sure, I can do that," I exclaimed. "Is tomorrow okay? Everyone's probably gone home now, but I can try to find one during work hours. I don't know where they live." Lumi sat back, still smiling. "Tomorrow is perfect. I'll be here all day. Now, why don't you take your pick of the menu? My treat. I'll see you again tomorrow." Before I could thank her properly, she was up and striding away, her shell glinting in the light. I said my thanks from a distance. She didn't turn. Jittering with nerves, I picked up the menu without seeing a word on it. Tomorrow. Tomorrow I would find a human and then learn some valuable information. I even knew the perfect one to ask. She was always friendly.